What if I told you there is a secret formula to the success of Fourth Wing? Do you want to write a book that flies off the shelves like Fourth Wing? Then you need this 7-point formula that's behind the success of Rebecca Yarros' writing style, and you can apply it to your work. In this video, there's going to be a quick book review of my thoughts about Fourth Wing, and then I'm going to get into those 7 things that you can learn from Rebecca Yarros' writing style that you can apply to your writing.
At the beginning of July, we did a video on how to write short stories, and we included a short story contest. We received some amazing entries. So today, what we want to do in just this moment is announce the winner of our short story contest, and we're going to mention 3 runner-ups that just had some amazing stories that we want to just highlight a couple of things that they did.
The winning short story is in our August newsletter. Now, if you have not gotten yourself signed up for our newsletter, now is your chance. The link will be in the descriptions. Get yourself signed up so you can read this winning short story. So, now, without any further ado, the winner of the short story contest is The Fall by Marley Cribbs.
Way to go, Marley!
Yay!
The 3 runner-ups with just some amazing writing that we wanted to highlight in our newsletter are number 1, In the Presence of the Dead by E.A. Morales. Second is I'm Free to Be Gideon by Joshua McKees. And third is How to Sleep at Attention, USMC by Roy Itinerate. I think I said that right. Anyway, check it out in the newsletter.
Yay!
And hear what we have to say about their writing.
When I first heard about Fourth Wing and this war college where these cadets learn how to ride dragons, I was curious, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And just curious, what was all the hype about? And I was not disappointed. Fourth Wing has all the elements of a great romantasy. It's got a little bit of spice, it's got enemies to lovers, forced proximity, found family, and we can't forget the oranges used as a weapon. If you enjoy the fantasy genre and you really like the enemies to lovers trope, then you will enjoy Fourth Wing. Now, it does take place in a war college, and so there is violence and swearing and some spice. Rebecca Yarros establishes right up front on the first page these elements, that these things are going to be in it. And I'm going to read to you from the first page of the book. It says, conscription day is always the deadliest. Maybe that's why the sunrise is especially beautiful this morning, because I know it might be my last. If you keep reading on that same page, like a paragraph later, there's a swear word. And so we've established right up front what's going to be in this book. We got some parameters of what to expect. And so people that might be uncomfortable with swearing or, hey, the idea of this might be my last day to die, I might die today, those people have the opportunity to not read the book. But if you keep reading, you know what to expect. I'll put a link in the description, so if you have not read Fourth Wing, that you can follow that link and grab a copy for yourself. Let's take a look at why Fourth Wing is such a mega bestseller. Why is it having such phenomenal success? There's a lot that you can learn by analyzing Fourth Wing. Here are the 7 elements on the writing craft from Rebecca Yarros that you can apply to your book to make your book unputdownable. And first up is relentless pacing. So what problem does this solve? Now, this is one of the problems of a lot of manuscripts, is a really slow, meandering start. In a world of infinite content, you have seconds to hook a reader, not chapters. You cannot spend 30 pages on the history of the world before the story actually kicks off. Fourth Wing is a masterclass in momentum. Yarros uses short sentences, short paragraphs, and really keeps things flowing really quickly. There's almost no exposition. You learn what you need to know about that world on the fly as you read. Now, from page 1, Violet is facing the life or death situation of the parapet. And what will happen? Will she live or will she die? It starts off right that way. So how do you use this? So you're going to go through the first 50 pages of your story and really be relentless and ruthless in analyzing every scene, every sentence, every word. Does it need that? Does it absolutely need that for the story to move? Cut the fluff. Choose momentum over fancy descriptions. Think about your story not as a leisurely stroll in the park, but as a sprint. You want to get to that inciting incident as quickly as possible, and then don't let up. The second ingredient is the immediacy that you get from the first person present tense narration. The first person narration really solves the problem of a distant narrator. When readers feel like they're just watching a story from afar, they don't get as emotionally invested. It's kind of like the difference between hearing about a party and actually being at the party. Yarros uses this technique, which is very common in YA fiction, to create a very raw and intimate connection between the story, the protagonist, and the reader. We aren't just told what Violet feels, we're actually feeling it with her. Her fear, her pain, her shock, we are feeling that in real time. This point of view makes high stakes even higher because we are right in her head, experiencing the danger right with her. What can you do with this? Well, you want to ask yourself if this is going to be an appropriate thing for your story. Now, first-person immediacy isn't appropriate for every story, but if you want to create a deep and intimate connection between the protagonist and the reader, this is a really good technique to use. It forces you to stay grounded in your character's immediate world, and it creates a very engaging and addictive reading experience. You have a purpose, and your story has a purpose, and I'm here to help you change the world one story at a time. Formula point number 3 is all about creating a character who is perfectly imperfect. And this is really a very tricky thing to do, because how do you create a character who is too perfect, is not too perfect to be relatable, or too imperfect to be liked? So many authors struggle to find that sweet spot where your character is an extraordinary character, but also deeply human. And Violet Sorrengail is the blueprint. Her defining trait is her physical fragility, and it's inspired by an actual condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome that the author has actually openly discussed. This immediately makes her an underdog at this brutal war college, but it is brilliantly balanced with something that makes her very strong, and that's her mind. Her scribe-trained mind and her will that is super strong. She is vulnerable, but she's also very strong in the ways that count. And we love her because we get to watch her grow as a person. One of my favorite parts of the book really showcases this so beautifully, and it's where Violet is facing the gauntlet. And she is physically too small to actually complete it the way that they're trying to get her to complete it. And she uses her intellect and her will and her skill with a knife. And she masters the gauntlet in a way that works for her in her fragility. And it's a masterful display of her overcoming her vulnerability with the stronger elements. Here's how you can apply this to your work. Give your protagonist a clear, tangible vulnerability that makes them the underdog in the situation. This will create instant empathy with the reader. Then give them an opposing, maybe less obvious strength that will allow them to face their vulnerability or their weakness in a unique way. Readers don't fall for perfection. They fall for the struggle to overcome imperfection. The fourth part of the formula is trope mastery. And it's a common fear with writers that if they use a common trope like enemies to lovers, that it will feel cliche. Now, that's really not the case because using tropes and mastering the tropes will allow you to create a story that the readers can really enjoy. Rebecca Yarros doesn't just use tropes, she executes them masterfully because she knows why readers love them. Fourth Wing is a treasure trove of beloved tropes. Enemies to lovers, found family, underdog hero, and like the morally gray love interest. The secret is that she delivers on those tropes while adding emotional depth to them. Now, the romance between Violet and Xaden feels earned because she takes time to build it with vulnerability and respect between the two of them. The lesson here is don't run from tropes, embrace them. Find out what the emotional promise is of the trope that you are using. For enemies to lovers, it's about breaking down the prejudices and the misunderstandings to find understanding. And in found family, it's when you find a place that you belong where you least expect it. Lean into that emotional core and give it everything you've got. Readers pick up genre fiction because they know what to expect. So figure out what your genre and what those tropes are and deliver it in a way that is comforting and fresh. The fifth point is to make sure that every scene counts. And this is a problem of filler scenes. Now, these are scenes that, well, they might be beautifully written, but they're not actually moving the story forward. These scenes will kill your pacing and give the reader an opportunity to put your book down. In Fourth Wing, every single scene is a workhorse and has multiple purposes. A training exercise isn't just about training, it's about advancing the plot by showing Violet's character grow in some way. Maybe it reveals her character, or maybe it reveals her cleverness, like think about those oranges and poison. And also, it can also raise the stakes because she either almost dies at a training exercise or someone else dies. So for you, before you write a scene, define its purpose. And then once you have the purpose, then give it a secondary purpose. Can this argument also reveal a critical piece of world history? Or maybe can this fight reveal and test your hero's core values? Make sure that every scene pulls double or even triple duty. And number 6 is world building on a need-to-know basis. One of the cardinal sins of fantasy writing is the info dump. That's taking, you have this elaborately built world and you just spend pages and pages of telling the reader all about this world you've created. The problem with this is it brings the story to a halt, and Fourth Wing avoids this completely. The world is very complex, but the details are revealed a little bit at a time, chapter by chapter. She really takes her time showing us what is happening in this world. We learn about Navarre's politics through character conflicts, and the reader is given just what they need to know as they need to know it. The lesson is simple. Drip feed your world-building facts a little bit at a time so that the reader experiences the world through the eyes of your protagonist. The 7th is a page-turner secret, and that's Relentless chapter hooks. The problem is simple. A reader's reading along and they get to the end of the chapter and they think, this is a really good place to stop, and they close the book and put it down. You never want to end a chapter at a comfortable, clean break. Yarros is a master at ending her chapters with a hook, and it practically begs you to keep reading. You can't stop reading. You can't put the book down, whether it's a burning question or somebody's left on the side of a cliff. Whatever it is, you just can't stop reading, and she's a master at it. While some critics might call the foreshadowing a bit heavy-handed, you can't argue with the effectiveness. Rebecca Yarros uses this to create a book that we don't want to stop reading. Here's how to use this. Look at every single one of your chapter ends and ask, does the ending resolve tension, or does it leave questions unanswered or raise the tension? End on a reveal, a threat, a decision, or a moment of high emotion, because you want to give the reader a reason to turn the page every time. Now, that's the formula. Now, which one of these 7 elements do you struggle with in your own writing? Put it down in the comments because I'd love to chat with you about that. Thanks for watching.